We'll give everyone a few more minutes to join in here as we go, but really pumped to dive into not only some of the key learnings I've had over last year into AI, but then also the things that I'm most excited about. And I can show you all a few of the things that I've been working on over the past really 6 to 9 months as well. So really pumped for it and everybody here. So we'll give everyone a couple more minutes and then we will dive in. But actually, as we're doing this, for everyone that is here right now, if you could drop in the chat for me, what's the number one thing you want to learn about AI in 2024? Right? Like we're a full year now into this. I would love for everyone that's here, I would love to hear in the chat here, what are you hoping to learn the most about AI, generative, GPT in 2024? Let's drop that in the chat. I want to see if there's any themes there while we wait for people to join. There we go. Prompt engineering for sure. We're going to touch on my learnings there today in a big way. So that's a big one. What else does everyone want to learn on this in 2024? Best application for closing calls. Oh yeah, creating Drucker, we're going to do a whole session on creating. I'm actually going to show a couple today on that. I've built ones that Jake has built as well, but I believe, custom GPTs are absolutely going to be the future. Marketing use cases for sure. Prompt engineering and early application with GTM teams. Dan, we're going to touch on that a little bit even today of I look back at how much faster we could have learned industry insights, persona insights, keywords, trends, all of that starting someplace in. Pulling into Google Sheets, right? How do we start to make things connect? So this is good here, y'all. I appreciate the insights and what we're looking to do here. Because we're going to take this because the reason we've been doing these sessions, myself and Jake has live in SKO this week. That's why, I'm solo dolo here is AI and the generative, AI process is one of the first new things I have seen in sales, in tech, really in a long time. Almost all products that have been coming out over the last 6 to 7 years, not many of them are new ideas. They're new ways or better ways of doing something that was already in place. Whereas AI is a whole brand new field to play in. It's actually different. It's creating opportunities that did not exist before. And so when this all started happening, I dove in head first. I sat down and mapped out. I was like, what is it that makes me good as a leader? What is it that I do that I think leads to some of the results? And I mapped it all out on a page. And then I wrote down what I thought AI could do now, what AI could do soon, and what I thought AI would be able to eventually do. And when I wrote all of that out, I was like, wow, it's going to be able to do a lot of this. And so I had this little phrase that I used a lot of last year, which is, if anyone's going to replace me, it's going to be me. That's where I've been operating from, is if anyone's going to replace me, it's going to be me. And so I want to learn everything I can about AI, the different use cases and everything around it. And so today we're going to dive into just some of the key learnings, and I'll say maybe some of the mistakes I've made over the past year trying to learn it, but then also some of the use cases, some of the prompts, and some of the ideas that I see happening now in 2024. Right? I'm not going to make my 2024 predictions like everybody's throwing out there right now, but I'm going to walk you through where I think it's going and show some of the use cases as we go through this. So the first thing that I wanted to cover with everybody today, we got 30 minutes, so I'm going to move as fast as I can here, is some of the key learnings and I'll say mistakes of last year as I dove into this, because I'm almost embarrassed to say how much time I spent trying to learn some of these things, right? This is what I'm watching at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've joked about this on some of the other webinars with Jake. If y'all were to look at Jake and mine's text history, it's 10 o'clock at night. And it's hey, I just tried this new prompt and it worked this way. We've been spending a lot of time on this. So my first biggest learning of 2023 on AI is the prompt is everything. The prompt is everything. And when I see people trying AI for the first time, trying ChatGPT for the first time, they do things like this. Actually, I'll just share my screen and we'll just rock this live, where they'll do a prompt, right? And it looks like this. where it's like, hey, write me a blog article for a sales leadership course. And that's what they prompt, right? And this is what it comes back with. Transform your sales game. Join our premier sales leadership course. In this fast-paced world of sales, staying ahead of the game is not just an advantage, it's a necessity. How's this feel so far? How is this blog article feeling so far to everybody watching this right now, where we say, hey, we want to do a blog article. It's vague, it's boring. Here's what you'll learn: strategic sales planning, team building, motivation, high school essay, right? Because there we go. The prompt is this: write me a blog article for a sales leadership course. That's going to give you results like this. And early on, actually, I could even go back to some of my early, sessions in this one of like, that's what I would put in there. It's like, hey, I need a cold call script or help me handle this objection. The prompt is everything, right? So things that you want to include in the prompt. And actually, I'm gonna put you on the spot here real quick, okay? What would make this prompt better, right? Let's use this as an example again. I want a blog article for a sales leadership program. Okay. But now here's the key when writing the prompt. First thing we need to know is what tone? What tone do I want this in? I want the tone to be casual. No jargon, no fluff words, a human tone. Drew nailed it. The ICP for this is first-time managers who maybe haven't had much coaching in the past. Okay, so we've got who we're writing it to, what we want the tone to be in here, but then also this is where the human element comes in, is you need to give it some ideas, right? So a few key things to highlight is knowing reps' goals, connecting that to their quota, and mapping backwards. Can't type when people are watching. To make a plan. Please ensure to have an actionable next step included. Okay, now, is this prompt a little bit better? Right? So we can see what it'll come up with here, but it's this level of granularity you need to be going into with your prompts. Too often I see people having bad prompts. They go through it, but they don't build on it, right? So now the title's already better. Let's make it simple and effective. Hey there, we're more casual. Stepping in, it starts to sound like a human, right? Understanding your team's goals. It's doing a pretty good job here. Linking goals to quotas is doing a pretty good job here. So the point I'm making on this first one is the prompt is everything, but as Drew mentioned, as Leo mentioned, right? And I think Beth, you had mentioned, right? Like you want to use it more in marketing use cases. You have to feed it what you know about good marketing, which is actually my next biggest learning in AI all of last year is context is everything. AI by itself can create content. If you want it to be good, you have to give it context, right? So actually, Beth, what would be something else that makes a good blog article? Like I said, we're going to do some of this live. I'm putting Beth on the spot now. What's something that would make a good blog article, right? So it's already writing this out, but let's think about now, what's some further context? What are things that we know go into a great blog article that we can give it some context around? Ooh, okay. So now diagrams, visuals. Okay, this is great. Could you make me an infographic that covers these main points? Might have to flip over to Midjourney for it, but right. So now we did the article. Now we're asking for an infographic. And then I could think of another example of like, and we want to make it SEO optimized for blank. That's what I mean in terms of the context you need to give it. So similarly, if you're trying to go for a closing, I need help prepping for a closing call, you have to give it the context behind what good looks like. The people that are going to win with, ChatGPT and everyone else are the ones that can give it the best context of what they are looking for. Okay. So now look at this. Okay. Now we just got an infographic, and notice how I put my own typo in there. Sales leadership Rogels. Okay. Understanding your teals. But look at this, right? How long did this take? Now we have an infographic that people could download, and now we'd have to give it instructions to fix it. But now we went from nothing to a blog article to an infographic, and then we could tell it to SEO optimize for these keywords, and it would do that. So this is how the prompt is everything. And then it's giving it the context, right? What does good look like so it knows how to operate from it? So something I will use real quick here, y'all, I'm gonna come full screen for this because this is important. To all of my sales leaders, marketing leaders, RevOps leaders, start recording everything. When you are leading a training, record it. When you are giving instructions to somebody in terms of how they can improve something, record it. RevOps, if you are reviewing a dashboard, record yourself doing that, because that's the context that you can feed into ChatGPT to give it the insights that it needs. So actually, I'll show you all this real quick as an example. All right, here we go. I'm going to show you all this. So this right here, okay, this is over 15 hours of recorded trainings that I have done, right, for all the different topics that I've gone through, and I've transcribed all of them. And because I've transcribed all of them, I can take every single one of these and feed it into ChatGPT. When I'm leading a training with my team, I record it because I can feed it in. It's that's the context. Because when you're teaching something, you're explaining it. Explaining it to ChatGPT is the key to making the results better. So the first big learning was prompt is everything. The second is context. You need to tell it what good looks like. You need to give the human element that you need to have in there. That's what makes it better. So I'm gonna pause real quick. I know I'm moving fast. Questions on this so far, right? Question. So Dan, at some point, see how to use context in a best practice way. Danny, what best practice would you like to see? What best practice would you like to see? Talking about a disco call, an email, this would be a good example, right? Of what type of context would you like what type of best practice, and then we can talk about how to give it the context needed. So just give me an example of something, whether it's writing an email, doing research, give me an example of one, and we can do one live here. Ooh. Okay. So, all right, to answer Eddie's question, can you create training materials using that method? Absolutely. So actually, let me show you this real quick, and then Danny, I'm going to come back to yours real fast here. So this is actually one I literally just did yesterday. Okay. So I need you to help me create some lesson plans I have done for other trainers to deliver, right? This is a training that I want my own enablement team to be able to deliver to my current team, right? So look at this, y'all. So I uploaded, right, the document. This is the training, right? This is the training that I delivered. I need your help to create these sessions. I need to outline the key topics with subpoints under them with example engagement questions to help ask the students to apply. I consult SaaS companies. I'll upload the transcription of the training so you have it. I want them to be very thorough. So this is the first thing that it spits out. So it gives the subpoints, the engagement questions of each part of this training. So far, so good. I go further, right? I'd like you to make the subpoints a bit more detailed, 4 to 5 points there for each prompts. Plus, let's add in an engagement question and exercise questions, meaning questions that task. So Danny, this is again further context. Here's what I want you to do. Now look what it comes back with. Subpoints, engagement questions, exercise for each one of the key portions of this. And then looking good. Now in the subpoints, I want the actual prompts that it's talking about. So, to Eddie, to Beth, does this work in terms of this took me 20 minutes to build a full training guide for one of my trainings, completely mapped out, that then I can use for my teams, for my managers, for my team leads to be able to actually apply it. This is why, if you have recordings, I actually did this with one of my coaching clients a few weeks ago with he had actually, what he did, and I'm going to get to your question here, Seth, is for onboarding, right? He uploaded a persona, right? He uploaded a persona, and then we said, great, can you write me a quiz to certify my reps on? Please include a mix of multiple choice questions, fill in the blank questions, and yes and no. We're looking for an 80 to 90% pass rate, so don't make the questions too hard, but we should be able to pass this. And in 5 minutes, had a complete 10-question quiz set up for one of the enablement modules that then he can use with his team. That's another big application that we can use here, right? So this is an example of a training content that you can do. And I don't know for any of y'all, but like writing this stuff is not great. I'm a speaker, so I'll record myself giving the training. I use a tool called Descript to do the transcriptions. I know there's a lot of tools out there to do transcriptions, but I record my trainings, I upload them into Descript, and then go from there. Now I've got the transcriptions and I can use it from there. But my enablement team has used this for checklists, to map out coaching plans, all of it. And it's great for creating quizzes and things like that as well, okay? So Robert, yes, it can, right? So you can upload. Now, I will say this, PowerPoints, it seems to struggle with a little bit more than like PDFs and docs. You still absolutely can, but it's a little bit better when it's in a doc. But yes, you can upload it and have it do a quiz right then and there for you. So it can work in a big way. So now, flipping kind of the topic here, right? So the prompt is king. Give it the context. And I don't know if y'all are catching this, but do you notice, whether this is right or wrong, how I talk to it? How would you describe how I talk to it, right? So it did the thing. How would you describe my response back to it, right? It's like, okay, it's starting to look good. Now in the subpoints, I actually do talk to it like a human, right? I'm saying, hey, I liked this. So I'm training it like we're close. Keep doing more of that. Because also a learning lesson, if you don't, this is so weird. If you don't tell it you liked it, it changes the whole thing sometimes, right? Where if I just said, oh, I want more bullet points, it changes all of it versus, hey, I like this. We're looking good. I'm coaching it along the way the same way. Now I want a short paragraph explaining the bullet points, how to speak to it, why the bullet point matters. I want the instructor's guide to be almost like a scorecard and script, right? There we go. Leo nailed it. Like, so talk to it like you would a human. This people, it's weird. Like they put on their prompt hat too, and it gets super, super complicated to do. Engage with it to get it to where you want it to be, right? So now to Sven's point, and this is a question that was asked here and where I'm most excited, what Jake and I have been working on, is building of the custom GPTs, right? Because each one of these is also, right, to go through it, like it doesn't remember all these conversations. Whereas if I go into the Bipsy bot that I have built here, right, and come into this, all those, trainings I showed you, that's already uploaded and built into this bot. So it always knows it. It always has the context to it. It always has the frameworks already built in. Apparently it doesn't want to work or show you guys. It's getting shy. It's getting shy here. It's okay. No, nothing. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's try this again. Okay, here, let's go edit. I just wanted to show y'all the back end of this and why the recording of everything is so important. Is all of this content is in here, right? So the ability to build custom GPTs, you have to have the context to do it. Look at all this context that is built in here, the sales training, the coaching, everything else, and then how I want it to behave, right? Here's how I want you to do it. I want you to act like a doctor doing a diagnosis, asking good questions, ask clarifying questions. Ideally, you can lead the person to the answer through questions. Even better, give choices. Bipsy should not do, like, you map all of this out. So now, right, when you're actually in here, so again, it's like actual context. If I can say, I have a rep, actually, let's do this. Anyone who manages reps right now, give me a challenge one of your reps is running into. Anyone that manages reps right now, give me a challenge that one of your reps are running into right now. Maybe it's close rate, maybe it's discovery. Give me a challenge that one of your reps is running into. What do you got for me here? There we go. Okay. I like, all right, we're going to get real specific here. Getting customers to pay a deposit. Have a rep that is losing deals at the end because whenever they ask for a deposit, the prospect declines and never comes back. Create a training program with prompts and tips on how to generate more deposits. And then, oh, Danny, this is perfect in terms of like context. Is there a way that you want them to do it, Danny? Is there a specific thing that you know helps get more deposits, right? One thing we know works is by justifying the deposit because of how much upfront work and value we deliver. I'm just making that up, Danny. I don't know if that's your world, but I think you see what I'm going for. So now, because it has so much of my sales training, my management, everything else, right? It can take all of that and work with it, okay? So it can help make out a training program, right? Enhance the rep skill, securing deposit, duration. This will be over 2 weeks. Week 1, understand the value in building confidence. A training session focused on understand the value activity. Reps list out all the possible values and benefits that justify the deposit, right? Crafting the justification, develop like, look at this, y'all. Look at this, okay? This is big, right? Around all of this is, and I don't even have a specific training on deposits, but can you see what this just did, right? Feedback sessions, personalized feedback activity, reps create and respond to these, like this, right? Because it has all the training and how to be a good manager, it can do this, right? So this is why I'm encouraging y'all to record everything, right? Is because you can do it this way. Now, I saw a great question come through about privacy concerns. So uploading it here does not give everybody on ChatGPT access to my documents. That's not how it works. The flip side, though, is also true. This is what Jake and I have been building over the last 4 or 5 months, is we've also created a private instance for ourselves and for companies to use that's completely contained. So it's not on ChatGPT. It's not out there anywhere else. It's a privately contained system that does the same things with our content, the company's content, and everything else. So if you're afraid of privacy, you do need to build it internally. If you want some ideas on how, I'd reach out to us, because we've done it. We've actually built it, and it's really starting to work very well. But like, this is an example of what you can do. And I have one for call scorecards too. How to build a custom call scorecard. Right? The custom GPTs are all of it, right? Of all of it is like taking the context. But if you don't have context, it's going to be very hard to build the custom GPTs. Even if you have the playbooks, you need to have the best practices built out as well. So the custom GPTs is one of the things I'm most excited about going into 2024. We've built the manager one. We built a scorecard one. We've built a research one, a prep one, and messaging. And like the one that Jake, I think he showed it last time, the one that Jake built out on creating snippets to put into emails and LinkedIn is just gold, right? It's like chunking it down, which is my biggest tip I want to give everyone is think big, then think small. The GPTs get better the more specific the action you're trying to get them to do is. So in Bipsy, for example, I have my scorecard training in there. But when I ask it to build a scorecard, it's not nearly as good as the sales scorecard builder, because in here, I can give it even more specific instructions. I have the example scorecards. I have the specific instructions on how to do it. So think big about what you want it to do, then get small. Build the GPTs for it. And I cannot express enough, y'all. If you want help with this, we run workshops on this. We can show you how to do this. We have a tool that works well for this. We have a whole prompt guide, right? Like, I don't know if many people have seen this. We've talked about it a lot, but like when we talk about the prompt guide, like this is what we mean on the prompt guide. And we have prompts for research, prompts for messaging, prompts for closing deals. Like it's all in here already to get the ball rolling for you. That is the key on it, right? And Becca, did Jake show the snippet one yet? I think Becca's still out there. I believe he showed it in a previous one. If not, then we might make that a focus of one of the ones coming up, because it just to consolidate and make it so much easier to take the research and make snippets to put into messaging. It's smooth. It's a great idea of big to small when it comes to how to build out these custom GPTs, but you have to have the content and best practices to make it work, right? So I was moving fast on this one, but I hope this gave us some ideas here. One, the prompt is everything, okay? Again, if you want help, go get the prompt guide. It's like $50, y'all. It's $50. Go buy it, because it's going to trigger, right? I have spent well over $500 on all other prompt guides out there to learn it, right? Because you start to see the patterns of good prompts and go, this is how it applies to my world, right? Beth, you'll see some that apply and they go, oh, here's how I tweak it to marketing. Salazar, you'll see some and go, okay, I see that. Here's how I tweak it for a new go-to-market where we don't have some of that insight, right? Those are the ways. So scoop the prompt guide up, y'all. Like it'll just jumpstart your process in learning this, okay? So I got a couple of questions here in the chat that I want to try to address. So it's from Steve. How do you know when you've done enough refinement requests? How many times? Ooh, okay. So my personal sweet spot tends to be like 4 to 5, because if I'm giving it a different, like, ooh, I liked this, but I didn't. Similarly, I liked this, I didn't like this part. This part sounded too salesy. Can you give me another example where instead of being salesy, it's more human? It doesn't include XYZ. If I give it 4 and 5 back and forth and I'm still not getting what I want, I'll start a new channel and start with the last prompt that I gave that was better and work from there. Because sometimes if you stay in the same one, it falls, it just doesn't change fast enough. So I'd recommend 4 to 5. And if it's still not getting you to where you want it to be, then I would say start a new chat to go through, and that tends to get it back on track. So I hope that helps there. Right. And then actually, while we're still on this, right, like to Dan's earlier question about like early go to market, one of the hardest parts of early go to market is not knowing maybe what matters, right, to the market, what matters to what's going on out there in the industry. What are the trends? What are the insights? What's the language that your personas like use, right? Here's actually one straight from the prompt guide, right? It talks about like competitive insights, right? Of like, hey, I came across this competitor. Why do you think people buy that? How would you compare it to ours? What are some key differentiators, and how can we leverage that information to close more deals, right? So that's straight from the prompt like guide. So there's a lot of places we can do that. Okay, so that would be one there, y'all. Another question came in. Have you dabbled in the other chat programs? So I have, yes. So I've spent a decent amount of time on Bard, not as much time as I have with ChatGPT. And I know Jake's done a lot of work on Bing also. So like we've dabbled in a lot of them. I've gravitated more to GPT simply because it's been a lot faster with integrations earlier. So it did a lot, right? As you like connect to different tools. It was the first one that had like the web pilot connecting to the customs, like all that. Yeah, Claude is a beast as well. So like I'm still dabbling, but more than anything, I'm just trying to stay on top of like the prompt engineering, the insights, and then how can it connect the dots. That's one of my personal favorite tactics within it is, okay, it told me this, now connect the dots to this. And then it is such a great job of doing that. So really good questions, y'all. And for real, y'all, thank y'all for doing this live with me, like for engaging, for giving ideas, because hopefully you saw how how fast this works, how fast this works. Oh man, Steve, my wish list, right? My wish list is like one, to very quickly build no code tools. That my number one wish list. Like I have so many product ideas that I know could be built in no code that I don't know how to do. I would love to be able to give it prompts of here's what I'm trying to build, and it connect to like a bubble or a maker or a zap. That'd be another one, is if it could build those zaps for me. That's my absolute dream with GPTs. Here's what I'm looking to build and connect. Do it. That's the key. Great. Uh-oh, great comment. Oh, uncork. Okay, I'm looking that up, Leo. I'm not gonna miss that. I'm not gonna miss that at all. See, I get to learn on these things too. So with that, y'all, we are at our 30 minutes. Thank you for joining. Thank you for going on this journey with us. We are still learning. We are still testing. We are still updating. If you haven't, get the prompt, y'all. It'll just spark the ideas you need to get things going. And if you want help, do a workshop. Like, let us come in and like really build this with you, not just teach you, but build it with you. It's just such a great way to get going. So I appreciate y'all as always. If there's follow-up questions, hit me up, hit Jake up. But as always, y'all, deuces, we're out. Appreciate you. Thank you.